Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our meta pals out there? In today's episode, we'll be venturing back into the Akashic Records, paranormal activity, and who the hell knows what else is going to come up with our amazing special returning guest, Erin of Vintage Moons. Welcome back, Erin.
Woohoo. What's happening? We've been having some lighthearted, interesting discussions. Less Akashic and more real life, but it's...
Right.
I mean, doesn't it all go together?
It all fits in there, if you know what I mean.
Now, wouldn't that be interesting? And I'm going to just jump right in because I have to know. When you're in someone's Akashic record, is it possible that you're going to see something very naughty pop up in regards to their life?
It is possible, and it's interesting because I never actually, go in for that reason, but it is possible. Like, sometimes people have needed to witness themselves in a good relationship. You know what I mean? Because not just because they have shitty relationships in this life, maybe they choose to continue a pattern that is, they want the wounded people that they can save or heal or whatever the fuck they think they're going to do for them. But I remember one session I did for somebody because Spirit was like, she needs to witness herself being in a healthy, good relationship. You know what I mean? So, it did include sex. There wasn't a lot of showing it, but there was you could feel the compassion, the actual love, the hugging and the closeness. And so when I'm working in past lives and teaching people past lives, it's really about what do they need to witness, because they don't show me from birth to death in that lifetime. Sometimes it's maybe just a tiny window. Maybe it's a 10-year, 20-year span, or maybe usually it's late adulthood to whatever, because that's kind of when we start, accomplishing things. But, it's really about what does that person need? So if sometimes they just need to witness themselves getting, it has been good at some point in time, and it's just having that connection, and your soul feels it. Even if mentally you're ooh, I don't know, your mind will catch up, but your soul has that immediate recognition. So whenever I work with people, and if I clear, or if we're healing, whatever we're doing, your soul is immediate. Your soul feels that fire, that ignition, and your mind and your body take a little bit of time. Oh, I don't know. So depends on the person and what we're doing, but Spirit will always tell me they need a 2 or 3 or 4 or 8 week integration. So the integration means they need time to process, so over the next few weeks or months, whatever, they'll kind of process that, and it'll make more sense to them, and it'll kind of hit home and stay in their soul a little bit more. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, we've all done shady shit. We've all done good shit. We've all done the in-between. There's not, nobody's missed a lifetime where something hasn't occurred. So, going and witnessing things like that. So I've never actually gone in and just to witness that, but,
it's happened.
Think about it.
I mean, we all have our friends that tell us, girl, you need to get laid. And so I feel like, at some point, spirit guides, I have to imagine some of them just have to put it out there directly. Yeah, go handle that.
It's time.
It's time.
And, a lot of people are like, oh my God, do they just stand around and watch? Basically. I mean, but they're not invested in it. I mean, you could be hey, get them to last longer, get them you can ask your spirit team to be help the situation, if it's super shitty or sucky, you'd be what can you do here to make this a better moment or experience or whatever. I'm not a one. I mean, I've been married for 20, whatever. What the hell year is this? 2023, 20
Mhm.
years. So, I'm not, but I was never a one night stand person anyway. It's too much work. One night stands, it's never good the first time. So why the fuck would you put yourself through that? You know what I mean? But, you can ask spirit those things hey, either help me find the right person. If you're choosing to go home with somebody, do whatever, be like, make this good. You know what I mean? You can just ask your spirit team, like, make it better, make it last, make it whatever it is you're like hoping for, all up at, in your mind, or building it up to be whatever. Like, you can ask spirit to help you. And if it's a one and done and a super fast pump and it's over, you're just like, well, all right, there's something there I needed to learn. I got to get the fuck out, or however you play out that scenario. But you can always ask spirit for help. Yeah, they're always around, but it's not like they're weird lurker perverts. The weird lurker perverts are usually the ones who haven't crossed over. So I banish them and get rid of them, because those are the ones that keep the human qualities, the yuckos, the pervs, the beaters, the whatever. They will keep the yucky qualities. So like when we moved into this house like 2 years ago, my daughter's like, somebody watches me take a bath. I'm like, I know he watches me take a bath too. I got to banish him. Like, I got to get rid of him. But those are the ones like where you feel the human yuck, they haven't crossed over yet. So I banish them, get rid of them. But, otherwise spirit's not really invested in your sex life. They're just there. They're always there supporting you. So they might stand back a little bit, but they're not there like, trying to rile the troops or do anything, unless you're asking like, hey, you need to like make it last or make it do this. Like if you ask your spirit team to like come in and like whatever pomp and circumstance the whole situation, then they'll try to help you out. But it's not like they're just standing around taking bets, like
they're your sex therapists now. Here we are.
Tickle here and do this there and blow here, whatever, make it stick out a little bit more.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that until you said that. Like, we've had so many guests on that say the spirit team's always present and it's always, they're always there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they are always there, aren't they? I'm so glad I can't see or talk to mine, because I feel like that would make life way more interesting. Because there are people who can see their spirit team, but it's like eye contact, right? Like accidentally making eye contact with somebody.
Like, no! Turn around! Just turn around!
Face the wall! Boundaries, spirit team, boundaries.
Well, and I never really think about it. Like, I could see my spirit team and hear them and know that they're there. And, like, my boundaries are 6 feet. So my spirit team can be within 6 feet of me. Nobody else is allowed in that space. But then you got to thank your partner, my husband's spirit team. My kids' spirit team, hopefully they're hanging out with them and not, like, watching the show. But I guess, for me, I don't think much about it. Like, I don't get all weird if I'm naked or if I'm going into the shower or whatever. Like, we're pretty, I don't know the right word, liberal family. We don't close the door when we go to the bathroom. I mean, now that my son's getting older, I'm like, dude, you can't, like, you know what I mean? Like,
certain things you need to do behind the closed doors.
Yeah. But we're not like a really like rigid, but I'm just like, oh, okay, kids, whatever. But, I don't have that thing with spirit. Like, oh, don't watch me shower. They don't give two fucks. They're just there to support and guide you. They're not there to critique how you look or make you feel shitty about yourself. If you feel a spirit is trying to make you feel bad about yourself, they are not your spirit team. Your spirit team is only there for your highest and best good. So it helps you to know and discern. I know when random spirits come in, they hit my left ear. But then the energy shifts in my environment. And I know, usually they'll bend over, try to talk to me. Sometimes I hear it. Sometimes I see it or hear it in just a combo, feel it. But I know instantly, like, ooh, like I need to banish you, or you're just here because you're curious, So it's building that stuff with spirit so that it's, like, I don't, it's pretty instant for me. Like, ooh, no, you got to get out. But the kids too, they're kind of, a couple weeks ago, my son was like, hey, we need to sage the house. I don't want to take a shower alone. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be in the shower with you. Like he burned his hand like a month and a half or 2 ago. So I kept having to wash his hair because it was like across, like his whole hand was like 2nd degree, 3rd degree burns. Ooh. So I was like having to like, he was bending over in the shower. I was washing his hair like over the side of the tub. But he's like, I don't want to be up here alone. We need to sage the house. I keep telling you there's, and I'm like, dude. It's like right when I wanted to go to bed. So no, but when your kids are, when they don't have to shut off either, your whole house is just a different energetic space,
Absolutely. Wouldn't it be interesting if our spirit teams, because we've talked about this in past episodes, like when we when our loved ones pass on, how we're able to contact them, even though they've incarnated into maybe something potentially else. And it's this idea that there's many different incarnations of us going on at the same time. So wouldn't it be interesting if our spirit team were all incarnations of just us? And that's why they're there to support us. So it's
I
just
mean, it's
different lives of
possible.
us.
It's possible. So how spirit always presents it to me is spirits are ever present. So my mom died when I was 16. I have a full blood brother. So she could be with me and him at the same time. And her mom, I guess she has a sister alive and a brother, which we don't really talk to, but I mean, she could be with all of us at the same time, and she can still, so ever present. So just part of her soul's fracture. So part gets to stay with you. And if she chooses to go on to another human, whatever, I don't know why you would. I'm done after this, but like part of her could choose to go on to another human existence where part of her gets to stay with me, stay with my brother. You know what I mean? So that ever present, that soul fracturing, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's how we get to move on. You know what I mean? It's how we get to continue on and stay us and continue on as humans and spirits and souls and all that stuff. So
I wonder if there's a limit on how many times your soul can fracture.
at this point, spirit has not said no. So some people I come across, especially in past life work, they're not that old, like maybe a couple hundred years. Where like me, I was part creator of the Akashic Records, so I'm super fucking old, and I've had a lot of fucking lifetimes. I don't bounce back every single time after I go out, but some people that I've come across, they're maybe only like from the 1800s. So they're not, they're not super old. So I don't know the rhyme or reason. And that's one thing I've never really been able to figure out. Why do you bounce a lifetime and then skip 10? Or, I don't know. So like my main guide is male. This is male, and him and I usually have lifetimes together. So if one of us isn't if we're not in spirit together, then one of us is human and the other one is their guide. So it's just something that I do see that a lot too. So it's interesting how that comes in part too. So him and I have had many, many lifetimes, and we're very, very old together. But we don't travel alone. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting perspective when you've been like connected to a spirit guide in the past. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so I'm like, well, then aren't you jealous that I have a husband? Or, and he's like, no, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, I ask all the weird questions, like, are you jealous because I'm, with somebody else? And he's like, no, because I'm not human. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but I see that a lot. I do see that a lot with people and guides and the connections and stuff. Like, you've had a lot of lifetimes with them.
Can you see people's spirit team outside of the Akashic record? Like you can visually see yours?
Yeah. So the way I work in the Akashic Records is it's only past life. It's your past life realms, starseed stuff, different lifetimes like that. So there are some people who kind of believe the Akashic Records is how you do intuitive work. I 100% absolutely do not believe that. Your Akashic Records is your past life history book, your personal past life history book. So for me, I don't ever enter the Akashic Records to connect with spirit. I connect with spirit and then I go into the Akashic Records. So if somebody's comes in during an Akashic session in that lifetime, then I'm like, okay, who are you? Why are you there? Can they call on you in the future? Can I call on you? And so I just figure out who they are, why they're there, why they're coming forward. Most likely were with them in that lifetime. So I've had centaurs and mermaids and Sasquatches and Vikings and all kinds of different shit that have come forward from past lives. A lot of times they'll kind of greet me before we go in. So I'm like, okay, who are you? But I don't access the Akashic Records to do intuitive work. I do intuitive work. And if we need to go into past lives, then we do that. So to me, the Akashic is like really sacred, and it's your personal space. So, it shouldn't be open and like loosey-gooseyed with.
Have you ever gone into the Akashic Records for like a non-human being?
Not really.
Because I know you mentioned you go in and you're able to see the lives that present in, like you said, the centaurs and the mermaids and stuff. So I was curious if you've ever gone in for someone who isn't currently human.
No, not really. more just the experience, a lot of like Lemuria. There's a lot of different realms and timelines. So it's more trying to understand what's going on with them in the human life, but it takes us to like, galactic lifetimes, realms, different places. I like to say realms because sometimes how spirit shows it to me, it's like kind of this in between place. I'm not a big believer of we have all of these realms happening at once. The whatever that theory is, I don't see it like that, and that's not how spirit presents it to me. But I do say realms because I do feel that there's realms that are not visible for everybody, let's say it like that. So there's just different realms and places. So some starseed stuff, and because it's not all human lifetimes. A lot of us have like starseed DNA, which is kind of like a mixture. So if you have a lot of health issues in your life, I have crazy weird health stuff that doctors can never fucking figure out. Like, well, you're fine, your blood test is fine, but I don't feel fine, and I have classic symptoms of this and this and this. And spirit's like, it's because you have starseed DNA. You have a lot of starseed DNA. So it's really hard to get diagnosis for things. It's really hard to pin things down. It's really hard to. So spirit always shows me that that's a big starseed thing. So if you're listening to this and you're like, if you feel you have autoimmune stuff, or like I have gluten intolerance, like I have so many fucking food intolerances, it's ridiculous. Like I should only be able to eat chicken. I mean, really. And because I have so many food things, you know what I mean? But that's how spirit always shows it to me, is the more weird medical stuff you have, the like stronger starseed kind of mix that you are, let's say it like that. So it's one avenue to look in, so I always make sure to go to the doctor. Don't ever negate something you feel in your body because you think it's a spiritual thing. I spent 30 days on a Holter monitor for my heart because my heart rate was so fucked. Every night I thought I was having a heart attack. I spent 30 days hooked up to that electrical device from the cardiologist. My heart was completely fine, even though to me on a regular basis, it beats out of my chest. So that's when I started learning how the spirit really, really affects me. And that was really, I've been worked over by every specialist you could imagine: heart doctor, lung doctor, gut doctor, all of them, and all of my stuff is like, oh, you're within the normal range or whatever. So then I start kind of going to spirit, like, okay, what is this? Why am I having this? What am I experiencing? You know what I mean? So if I work with somebody or if I'm mentoring them, whatever, always make sure you're getting medically cleared before, but spirit can exacerbate your medical stuff 150%. Tingles, tickles, weird sensations. You think you're having neuropathy, like spirit always touches me. And I create those signs with them, but lately they've been going for my feet, which nobody's claimed my feet yet. So I'm trying to figure out who that is, because they're like swiping my feet and making them tickle. Like grandmas go, like I've had a lot of knee surgery, so I don't really feel my legs from my knees down. I just feel weird sensations. So grandma's usually on my right leg will go diagonally so that I can actually feel it. A lot of military people and people with anxiety, I'll feel the heart rate shift. So angels go from my head, Isis goes from my back. Like I've created those signs of spirit because I was such an overthinker and overcomplicator, anxiety, all of that, that stuff. I had to create those signs of spirit. So now if I get something new, I'm like, okay, well, who the fuck is that? That's a new one. So, I know, but then when I work with people, like I was just working with somebody last week, she's like, these devices and all these things. And I'm like, okay, it's spirit. We just gotta you gotta create your signs with your spirit team. They're trying, spirit will work to get your fucking attention. Like I said, they're always with you. If they want you to know something, they are going to figure out a way. So if your dreams will not fucking stop, they're trying to get to you that way because you're not consciously blocking it. If you're awake and you have anxiety and a lot of mindfuckery and a lot of panic, they're going to figure out a way to give you the information. So overwhelm, anxiety, brain fog, the body sensations, sickness, digestive, autoimmune. So if you start hitting the autoimmune space and you're just like lethargic and disgusting and you feel horrible all the time, spirit is totally trying to lay shit down for you and you're not picking it up. So you can either tell spirit, no, leave me alone, I don't want any of this, or you got to start figuring out what they're trying to tell you, because they're trying to help you. You're asking for things to manifest, to change your life, to connect to spirit, blah blah blah, whatever it is. They're trying to give you the signs and information, but it's up to you to put the action behind the the motion.
Now, we've got a lot of new listeners over the past few months, and I've had a few reach out to me asking for clarification. And I realize, oh, stuff that we've learned over 4 seasons, we're taking at face value. They may not understand. So I wanted to walk it back just a little bit. And would you mind explaining for those that don't understand what exactly is starseed and what it means to have starseed DNA? Because I know I'm going to get that question.
So starseed. So think about it like this. We're not all just human. We haven't had just human experiences in lifetimes. If you're not at that space where you believe in galactic beings yet, it'll come. But I wasn't a big fan either until I went to Sedona, and then I didn't have a choice anymore. The energy in Sedona is crazy, but so being a starseed is really, having different lifetimes as different beings in different planets and different energies. So, galactic beings, the mama gray that always helps me, she helps me heal others, clear others. She always injects me with some green serum, and then the black, like the toxins come out of my left arm. So she'll always put an IV in my right arm, and the toxins come out of my left arm. So, and it comes out as black. So that is like DNA stuff. That is starseed. That is, I don't ask what goes in there because I trust her. At first I was a little hesitant, you know what I mean? But now I trust her. But having that starseed, it's kind of, I'm going to say it like this, and it's a horrible fucking analogy, like a mixed breed dog. Let's say it like that. Like you got a Chiweenie, you got a little Chihuahua, you got a little wiener dog, and you got a little of something else. And it's really, you know what I mean? And it's even as the human lineage, you're probably part German and maybe part Irish, maybe, part Native American, whatever the fuck, however many lineages that you've had, like you have the blood and the mixture of that. So obviously starseed blood isn't going to show because it's generally not blood anyways. It's more in your DNA. So you might feel more inclined as a starseed to feel really connected to the planets, to the moon, to sitting outside under the stars. Like for me, I've always been very heavily connected to the moon and the stars. It has always felt like home to me, like my safe place. Water, like where I grew up. I didn't have an easy childhood. It was worse than some and better than some others people's. And we had a lake though, so I would go to the lake at night and sit on the dock and just like listen to the water like hit the shore and just look at the stars and the moon. Like that was very. I don't know. Maybe some people feel that for shopping, like that's their thing. But like for me, the moon and the stars is like where I feel like safe and comfortable, and you know what I mean? So some people like the moon and the sunrise, and what I like to say for people with starseed inclinations is you feel really drawn to like, okay, what is that? Is there more out there? And being more open. So like I like to say that multidimensional space. What is the multidimensional space? It's really that expansion, beings, realms, timelines, things. Have you ever watched Star Wars? Like all of those beings and things are not just because somebody has a good imagination. And Spirit brought me this one day because my son is 14. So we watch like Avengers and Star Wars and all that type of stuff. And we were watching it and I was like, fuck, these fucking beings are crazy. Because I do see beings like that when I do work, akashic work in past life. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I like, are you just messing with me? So like, and they're like, no, where do you think these people get the ideas? Because they're mediums, they channel it. So like if you see Doctor Strange is one of my favorites, that's kind of like how I equate my work. When you think about how he moves his hands and opens, I close portals. There's portals that are open. I remove demons and entities, yucky things. But that's how I see my work, the multidimensional, like opening up and expanding and being open and available for what is really there. You don't have to believe in it just yet. I didn't like it at first. But now the more that I'm open and allowing spirit to bring me who and whatever I need, and it's the same when I work for clients, I'm like, hey, you don't have to like totally get it, but the way I work is who and what you need. So sometimes it's weird stuff that comes in, but it's only for your highest and best good. So only those things and beings and energies and whatever is going to come in for your highest and best good. So it's like having that openness in that space. Like the more open you are, the more you're available to understand your starseed DNA, to understand. So most of the time, if I have sessions for people, if something galactic comes through, realms or timelines, they understand. They don't 100% get it, but they feel connected to it. So they've probably had a dream. So maybe as a kid, they used to draw a lot. Maybe they don't maybe 100% understand it, but the way that I describe it and talk to them, that it just is like, ooh. And that's kind of that integration period too. Because sometimes if they're not like ready, then over that integration period, they'll be like, okay, that makes sense. Like, okay, now I get it. Now they're coming in. Now they're, you know what I mean? And so it starts to make sense to them, because sometimes our soul needs to be triggered. Like, oh, is that what that is? And then like everything kind of unfolds from there. You know what I mean? So sometimes your soul just needs to like witness yourself doing those things, or, you know, sometimes things being done to you, whatever it is, to like release it, to let it go, to process it. And I do clear a lot of stuff in past lives too. So sometimes there's shit that we have done or been done to us that isn't, you know, helping us in any way, shape, or form today. So we clear it, we remove those cords. And it's kind of the same thing. You know, what are you available for? What are you asking for? Like, are you trying to grow your spiritual business and enhance your gifts and abilities, but you're so closed off because you're too scared? Well, you're not going to get where you want to be being that scared, you know? So the more you're allowing God's Spirit Universe to bring you who and what you need, like the more you get to have the experiences and be open and channel more and do more with your gifts and abilities. Like I'll say, I think my healing journey really expanded when I started to work in my akashic records, because it was that expansion. Because I wasn't, at first I was kind of a little freaked out, like, ooh, what the hell is that? Like, you know, but the more that I did it and the more that I really healed in that space, like without having to explain how I was healing, the more I just let whatever needed to happen, the more came in, the more spirit brought me, the easier things got. Like, you're like, okay, so now usually everything always comes in on my right. And I don't know if it's because like over here is like, you know, the outside walls, but usually stuff always comes from my right. So whenever I'm doing anything, like, oh, okay, you know, so they'll just kind of step forward. I'm like, all right, here we go, you know. So I already know, like, all right, well, this is what it's going to be this time. So but I'm not scared of it, and I don't have any fear, you know what I mean? So, which is a huge shift from when I started my spiritual work. I grew up scared because I didn't know what I was experiencing or hearing or seeing in my dreams. Because I had a lot of premonitions as a kid. I had a lot of dreams. I knew I was never alone. I didn't want to know what was there because I was so fucking scared. But like, I had a snoring ghost that slept next to me in bed every day. It was so fucking weird. It took me forever. I was like, oh my God. So I would go to my mom's room. She wasn't snoring. My brother wasn't snoring. So I'm like, I go back into my bed snoring. And I'm like, the actual fuck? So I'm like, fine, you can. And it was an old dude. I'm like, fine, you can sleep next to me. You can't touch me and you can't freak me out. And he did it. So like, it's just the old dude that slept next to me. You know what I mean? So
go sleep.
That one did. I can't explain it. I don't really know. I'm like, dude, I already don't sleep. Like, okay, here. But you know what's funny? Because like, I slept with my mom forever. I think I was like 10 or 11. And when I finally started sleeping in my room was when I started hearing the snoring ghost. And
Gosh.
So he must have been stuck to my room. I'm not really sure, but he only stayed in my room.
That's too funny. A snoring ghost.
I mean, I experience all kinds of weird shit, but
I love that you described starseed DNA as like a Chewini. That's so great.
What was the breed my daughter was trying to tell me about the other day? Somebody she knows has a not Great Dane. What are those skinny ones? A Greyhound and a Chihuahua. I'm like, how the fuck does that? Like, how is that happening?
Yeah,
I mean, we see basketball players with like 4'9" women, so I don't know. Where there's a will, there's a way.
He could not figure it out. He humped my border collie's face. So I don't know. Either maybe that one knows what he was doing, but Paco, he had no clue, but he would hump her face on the regular.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Now I want to go back because I do not want to graze over that. You said something really interesting about Mama Gray. And where does that happen? Where do you experience that?
Anymore, because the way I work with spirit, it has to be instant and immediate. I don't need to meditate for 2 hours and channel and journal. If I can't do that while I'm taking a piss, walking to my car, like it's not going to happen. So, like sometimes before bed, I'm like, God, I feel like shit. What's going on? So Mama Gray will kind of show me, and how they show it to me is it's kind of like this medical room, and I'm just on like one of those medical, it reminds me of the table that got strapped to when I had a C-section. Like they put my arms
Yeah.
out, and just like one light shines down on me. Sometimes there's a whole bunch of beings or in spirit team, whatever, whoever needs to be there is there. I don't ever, whoever needs to be there for whatever is happening is who's there. I don't ever call anybody in. My main guide and my bouncer guide are the ones that are always with me. But otherwise, it's really who and what I need. I'm just open for, it's not up to me to discern what I need. They fucking figure it out. I'm done trying to figure my shit out. They can fucking take it over. So usually they kind of just lay me on a table, and I just kind of, they know what's going on too, but I'm just like, I just don't feel good. I just need whatever. So a lot of times I'll ask her before I go to bed. I don't need to be present for it. If there's something I need to know, they'll tell me the next day or whatever. But so they usually kind of show me. So like Mama Gray presents to me like the guy from Roger from American Dad, kind of short, frumpy, kind of fat in the belly with the big eyes and kind of short. So she's a very big healer, and like she'll remove like galactic implants, like all kinds of shit. So I just let her do what she's got to do. So she knows what's going on with me. I kind of say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I don't feel good, whatever, if I'm tired or whatever, if it's thoughts or whatever is happening. And then, so a lot of times she'll kind of show me like the green, like IV liquid going in. And then like, I'll just go to sleep or do what I got to do. And I don't, and I ask too, like, do I need to be present and conscious for this? And most of the time they're like, no, you're fine. So I just trust that, you know what I mean? But I've been doing this for quite a few years. Like at first I was like, I need to be present and be aware. Like, I don't want to be probed. I don't want them to do something that I'm unaware of. But now I'm kind of like, dude, I'm too busy. Like, you know what I mean? If I need to be present, then they'll tell me like, yeah, you need to stay awake. You need to, you know what I mean? You need to be conscious enough that, if we need to ask or whatever. But anymore, I just trust them enough that you know what I mean? So I don't have to micromanage what spirit needs to do.
So then when she's doing that work on you with your spirit team potentially present, this is when you're aware of this is what's going to happen or this is what's happening, you are receiving this almost like a vision. Is that what I'm?
Usually, yeah. So usually I see it in my third eye, but I know that they're also here and present. So do I ever see them like full bodied? Sometimes, once in a while. So do I ever hear them audibly? Sometimes. It just really depends on the spirit and the being. But usually I see it in kind of like the third eye, but it's full visual, like a movie. You know what I mean? Like I fully see what's happening, what people are wearing, what do they look like, what is the environment. Like I fully see is my biggest is the seeing, and hearing is a very close, almost tied. It really kind of depends on the spirit too, but the energy, I'm very much the way I teach and the way that I work, understanding the energy. Someone is in my space that shouldn't be here. So I have Sidon as my kind of, he's half galactic and half angel. He's my bouncer guide. So he bridges the realm of angels and the galactic realm. There's like 6 of him. So he's pretty, it's like a council, pretty powerful. So they really like man and make sure there's no like, weird stuff happening. But he's who I use to clear, remove yucky energies, entities, clear things. He's my bouncer, my clear guide. So I just trust him. Like he knows my intentions and my boundaries. So he just enforces them, so I don't have to overthink it and overcomplicate it. Like the way that my mind used to work was the what if, the survival, the constant anxiety, overwhelm. I don't have to live that way anymore. So the more that I can give to God's spirit universe, the less that I have to be like, overwhelmed and consumed. Like now my mind is kind of free. Yeah, I do have ADHD too. So, sometimes that can be a little caveat like, well, now you have some free time. What else are you going to like put up in the old space? But, I don't have to live that anxiety and panic life. Like, I don't know how many anxiety or panic attacks I would have a day, 5, 10. Like sometimes like it would get so bad. I know when I'm going to pass out because my lips go numb and then I start blacking out. So I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Oh my God, did I reply to that email? Did I say it wrong? Am I going to get in trouble? Like that's how I used to have to live. And I don't live that way anymore. Yes, I still have anxiety. I take like liquid ashwagandha, and it helps. It takes the edge off, but I don't have the constant panic, because what I found out, it was the anxiety, panic, depression, fear was a lot of other people's shit that I was taking on. So when you're a dirty sponge for 39 years, it causes anxiety, overwhelm, panic. Like, it makes you think you're a full-on nut job. And, you know, where I'm just like mediocre, halfway, three quarters, I'm not a total nut job. But that is the biggest thing I like to tell people. Energy protection and clearing, even if you don't want to develop and connect to spirit and do those things, energy protection and clearing can change your life. People you live with, nasty teenagers, you know, hormones, the energy, the kids that they're going to school with. It was a few years ago, and my daughter, she just graduated this last year in January, so almost a year ago, I guess. Jesus. But every day before work, I was like, I'm going to murder somebody. I just want to fucking punch somebody in the fucking face. I was like, what the hell is that? Like, I couldn't figure out why I was so angry first thing in the morning, you know? And I was like, holy fuck, it was my kids. So that was when I started clearing and protecting my kids every day. Total game changer. I was like, oh my God, if they're just being around other people and hormones and whatnot can affect me that badly, how much is other people's? That was when I really started to understand how much other people's, I like to say, dirty energy was fucking with me. But think about it. You're touching the doorknob, the money, you're touching the products on the shelf that how many other fucking people have touched. Maybe they just got word that their mom is dying of cancer. Their husband is cheating on them. They read a comment on social media that hurt their feelings, and then they're touching that item. Then you're touching that item. Like, everybody is transferring their emotions because they don't want them. Like, emotions suck, you know, so it's a big deal. Oh, the angels are like tickling my head. They're like, yeah, you know, so the angels always tickle my head. I've been mad at spirit lately, so they've been giving me extra signs.
Why are you mad at spirit?
Everything that has been my biggest fear is happening. So, you know, like money's been really tight, and spirits been, since I left my job, they're like, you're going to be fine, everything's going to be good, your business is going to grow, and it's not happening. So I've been applying for freelance marketing jobs and stuff, and nothing is coming through. So I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? So spirit's like, just trust. I'm like, I still have kids to feed. So spirit and I have a little bit of different ideas on what is you're going to be okay. Like, to me, okay means there's money in the bank and there's safety and security. Obviously, that is not what spirit feels for safety and security. So we're having a little tete-a-tete about that. So, but it's also lessons for me, like my biggest fears. So they're like, okay, so now it's happening. Now what? So it didn't break me. You just go on. But, you know, it doesn't mean that it's not hard in the meantime. You know what I mean? So I'm like, why do the lessons got to be so hard? Like, can't you like ease up a little? And they're just like, everything's going to be okay, which I know. And now the way I live my life, like, in the middle, like, I kind of know I might have a bad day, bad moment, like, fuck it all. But I know in the end, I don't need to know how, what, when, where, or why it's going to happen. I just know that things are going to be better. You know what I mean? I don't need to know how it's going to pan out, which is hard as a human because we want to know. But in the middle, like I like to tell people, it sucks. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not fun, but you just got to have enough faith in spirit that in the end, that things are going to come around, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm just waiting for that pony. Like, I just want the black stallion to show up and be like, yeah, this is it, you know, instead of like the little like mini horse that life is giving me right now. Like, I want that stallion, or the like whatever those, the Budweiser animal, the Clydesdales. Like, I want the big horse. Stop bringing me the baby ponies to play with, even though they're cute. Like, I want the winning racehorse, you know, like, bring me that.
No, I'm with you. And you made a really great point that, like, even though there is still, I'm trying to think of the best way to say that. Even though there is a purpose and there's a lesson, it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. And people,
and it's not about being perfect and that perpetual, you have to be high vibe and such fucking bullshit. And I fucking don't like that. You don't have to be high vibe. I'm not high vibe. I'm pissed off at spirit. I can be pissed off at spirit. They're making it known that they're hearing my unease. But I can still have a bad day, a bad week. it doesn't mean that I'm not creating and I'm not working with spirit and I'm not good enough. It just means that I'm fucking human, and that's okay. But there's some of these people out there that are perpetuating this like attracts like. Fuck you. No, I'm not asking to file bankruptcy. I'm not asking to be broke. I'm not asking to not give my kids Christmas. No, that is 100% not what is happening. Like, this is real life, you know. And I think some of these coaches probably like live with their fucking parents and don't have kids and real life shit happening. It's like, no, don't fucking perpetuate that shit, you know, like, don't.
Well, and I think oftentimes people reach out when they're going through heartache or loss or, it's intense emotions that have a lot to do with matters of the heart. And, the constant message is everything's a lesson, everything happens for a reason. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. But that doesn't, and you're going to learn, you're going to heal, you're going to grow. But that doesn't mean it's not going to hurt like hell. In the
Yeah.
meantime, it's not going to be like, it is going to be hard. It is going to hurt. But it's a part of it.
Yeah. The spiritual journey and your spiritual awakening doesn't mean that everything turns on and it's fucking unicorns and rainbows. It means that you have this new opportunity to actually heal, to connect to something that has been waiting for you to connect with it, to find what works for you, to expand and to be open and to not control your life and to heal. Like, there's a lot that can happen in, your spiritual awakening, the spiritual realm. And it's not this perpetuation of perfection. It's about growth and understanding and healing and finding your purpose and living your purpose and finding your power. And like, you still have to be your advocate. You still have to heal and put the energy in and investment and time and money and energy into things. But it's now I know that there's opportunity. I know that there is, how your mom, when you were young, you can do anything you want. But I grew up thinking that's not really the truth. Like, you know what I mean? Nothing has ever been easy in my entire life, ever. So that you can have whatever you want, be whatever you want, has never really been in my grasp. Let's say it like that. Now on my spiritual journey, everything is possible. Maybe I don't want it. Maybe right now what I want is not what I'm going to want in 6 months. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. You know what I mean? Just ask God, Spirit, Universe. Is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this for my highest and best good? And I would just give everything to Spirit. Like, okay, if I'm supposed to do this, like if I'm supposed to be here or do this or experience this or have this, just, you need to drop it in my fucking lap. It needs to be affordable for me. It needs to be the right person for me. It needs to be the right experience. And I've had some shitty fucking mentors and business programs that I've taken. I'm like, holy fuck, I invested money and you told me it was the right person, the right thing. And they're like, you learned something. You know what I mean? But I'm like, fuck, that's not what I was hoping, But it's not unicorns and rainbows. And don't have this perpetuation of it's unicorns and rainbows experience. Like, working with spirit and having your spiritual awakening, it is fucking up and down and high and low. Like, it's a growth pattern. Healing fucking sucks. It's hard. We bury our trauma and our bullshit for a reason, because it sucks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you start bringing that shit back up, it ain't fucking easy. You buried that shit as a fucking... Mine shit started at 2 or 3 years old. I started burying it for a reason. I didn't know what to do with it. How do you process something like that? How do you know what I mean? And when you have to start processing it and addressing it and, then you're like, oh, I'm not so sure. So there's times where you stuff it back down for a while until you're really ready to process it or heal from it or address it again. You know what I mean? So don't get stuck in the cycle of it's all high vibe, because it is bullshit. If you come to some type of a mentor and they're like, you have to stay high vibe and in your energy. And it's like, if fucking somebody says that to you, you should run. It's just like when people say, I'm a good Christian, fucking run the other direction, because they are the shadiest motherfucker you're ever going to meet in your entire life. Them's the ones cheating and doing shady shit and all the illegal stuff. I'm a good Christian.
Illegal stuff.
All the illegal stuff.
And it is hard. We constantly hear that if you're going to do paranormal investigation or you're going to be like just existing, if you don't want bad shit or entities drawn to you that are low vibration, that you need to stay high vibration. And it's like, it is impossible to be high vibrational 24/7. So really, like, I guess, it's easy to say, bad things won't happen if you don't, go out in life. I don't know, but it's the idea there's got to be a different way.
See, and how I feel with that. So I've cleared horribly negative things from people, from places, from myself, from whatever, past lives, this life. And the whole staunch difference between me and other people is I don't worry about it. I'm not afraid of it. Nothing can get to me and affect me and harm me because I don't allow it. I set those intentions with spirit, with my spirit team. If something comes in, I have faith in them and me that we can get rid of it. You know what I mean? Where people are so afraid to attract the negativity. And it's a whole different perspective where you're just not afraid of it. Like, I don't ever give it a concern or a worry. I don't give my energy to things like retrograde or, you know what I mean, big energetic things, because I don't give my energy to things like that. Like, I'm not open or available. If something negative is there, comes in, if I enter a place where it is, spirit tells me, and I'm like, okay, what do we do about it? Is it safe for me to go in here? You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole different perspective of opening yourself up, and like ghost hunters, he's not very smart sometimes, where he's inviting that shit in. That's just a fucking death sentence. But like, where, you know, for me, I'm just like, I just know I can block and protect. I can still get information from yucky negative things, but I don't have to take it on, and I'm not afraid that it's going to take me over because I know that I can get rid of whatever it is, you know. And that is a big difference in how I think I work versus some people, of that fear of, oh my God, what's possible, what's possible. And that's how I work with people. Like, no, you are an energetic powerhouse. You are, you know, nothing is available to come into your energetic space unless you allow it. So, you know what I mean? And having that perspective shift with that stuff really makes a big difference. Like, you don't have that fear going into houses or, you know, scary things or energies or whatever. Like, you just have that whole different, like I don't worry about it, you know?
And I think that's how I'm beginning to approach it, is because we're all human, right? We're living this experience that we're going to hit the low vibrations or whatever. We're going to vibrate low, and just understanding that even when you're in low vibration, even if it's ringing out, you are still in control. You still have full power to say, these are my boundaries. This is what's not allowed.
Yep, absolutely.
Because I can't be high vibrational all the time. I
No,
can't walk
you know
into
how
a house
exhausting it is?
and be like, I'm not going to attract anything bad. Like, you know what? I might. I tend to draw dark entities. I tend to draw those things, and that's okay. But it's my choice whether I want to allow them to connect, or I want to actually allow that communication.
Yep. And the high vibe thing, it's way more exhausting trying to live some type of a high energy. I mean, you might as well just fucking take 45 Red Bulls a day. Like, I mean, that's the like
Challenge accepted. Just kidding.
the
He's going to
whole
do it.
perspective of that is, you know, your energetic space, you're in control of it. So what are you allowing in? What are you accepting? What, you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between going into a house and like how I work with people in spirit is, I need to get exactly what I need to get from them. What do I need to feel in their body? What are they telling themselves? What is spirit bringing forward? What are they actually experiencing? And I will take it on so I understand, but it does not stay with me. It's gone. You know what I mean? So that, like, having those boundaries is really important, you know? So whatever work you're doing, and if you don't feel solid and safe in those boundaries that you're creating, you're fucked. Like, you're going to get attachments and beings and things coming home with you. And you know what I mean? Like, when you're open to spirit, you're a lighthouse. Me and my two children, we attract things on a fucking regular basis. And my daughter goes to goddamn graveyards and never fucking clears herself. So she's always bringing random shit home. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, have you cleared yourself when you left? And she's like, yeah. And I know she's lying. And I'm like, stop it. No fucking wonder we keep getting random fucking people coming in all the fucking
you
time.
take a bath.
But yeah, it's that energetic, like, you know what I mean? Having the power behind what you're enforcing. Like, are you loosey goosey, or are you like an energetic powerhouse? You know what I mean? And it's like not having that fear of like, oh my God, you know. And that's how I grew up, having that fear. Like, you know, watching The Exorcist, growing up Catholic, I was fucking scared. Now I'm 100% the opposite. I'm like, I'm not scared at all. At 100% at all. You know what I mean? And it's a total difference.
Yeah, and I do think, you know, at least, or I feel that we're here for the experience. We're here to feel it all, to experience it all. So if we are not allowing ourselves to have the grace to feel those sad emotions, those angry emotions, those what's considered low vibrational emotions, then we're missing part of the experience. Now, we don't want to wallow in it and stay in it for extended periods of time because that's also exhausting.
Yeah.
But definitely trying to act like they don't exist or like they're bad. Like, well, you need to be this vibration. It's like, no, I need to feel it all.
It's like you're bypassing what you need to,
Yeah.
and how I approach it now is I usually have a bad day. It's where I kind of want to burn the world down. And my second day is my rational day. Like, okay, what can I do about this situation? You know what I mean? And I ask spirit, can I clear it? What do we need to do? So like the original day, if something happens or if it's just a day, then that's the day. And then the next day I know is my rational day. Like, okay, what can we do about it? And I allow myself to have that day. I allow myself to be like, I'm not posting on social media because I know that I'm not in a good mood or whatever it is. And like, I give myself that day. I don't push myself or force myself to be high vibe or blah, blah, blah. So I know my second day is my day of like, okay, action. Like, okay, what do I do? Do I need to meditate? Do I need to clear? Do I need to ask spirit? Like, but I know that now, where I don't live like I used to live days, a bad thing would happen, then the next day, another bad thing, and the next day, and next day. So like days, weeks, months, you're just like negative, 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 negative. I don't have to live that way anymore. I don't live that way anymore. So now I know like, okay, I'm having a day. It's totally fine. And then the next day, like, that's okay, what can we do? If it's a situation, or if it's just that I'm having a day, like sometimes on Sundays, I'm just like, oh, because I don't want to do anything. So then sometimes on Mondays, it's like harder to like get going and doing things, but not having to live in that like negative, like overwhelmed space or pretending to be high vibe is fucking exhausting. So I don't have to do that shit anymore. It's awesome.
I feel like we're the same person. I go through the same cycle where it's like one day I want to burn it all down. That's literally what it feels like blow it up. But that not literally. Government, if you're listening.
I do though.
But just like
kidding.
I get what you mean. Like it's full destructive feeling. And then the next day you're like, okay, we're in a calmer place. I can tackle all of this from a rational perspective. But like
Yep.
you said, allowing yourself to feel those emotions. You have to go through it to get to that next space.
It sounds like
But don't
me.
It's
actually
kind of like
blow
when you
anything
go
up.
on a diet, when you're like, I'm never going to have chocolate again. And then like, that's all you fucking think about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no, so it's having that and learning that it's okay. It's okay to have that negative space, negative emotion, negative day. I mean, there's days where I'm like, I'm done with my spiritual work. I'm just going to sell my soul back to the devil and go back and work for a corporate job. And, but then the next day I'm like, okay, yeah, I can have my spiritual business. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's okay to waver and to like go back and forth. But it's just like, just don't give up. Like
Right.
if you're working towards something, just don't give up. But it's okay to have like, fuck it. Nope. Like the red stapler days, like from Office Space,
Office
that
Space.
movie. Like, where's my red stapler?
My
I'm
stapler.
gonna burn this whole building down.
Shit, I go through that in like.
It's okay to have a red stapler day.
I go through all these emotions in a 10-hour shift at work. So it's like I walk in and I'm fine, and it's like 2 hours later, fuck this place, I'm gonna burn it down. And then I'm fine again. I'm like, all right, cool.
And then you gotta be thinking, I can't be the only person thinking this. Somebody else has got to be
Right.
like doing something. Just put a fucking virus in the firewall or some
Right.
shit. Just
So you're still offering workshops and classes to get people connected to the Akashic records and their past
Yep.
life. Where can people find it?
Actually, Akashic Mastery, today's 12/7, starts tonight. So if you're ready to work in your Akashic records, that class starts tonight. And it's 8 weeks, so it'll probably do it like every 2.5 to 3 months. But you'll learn to work in your Akashic records, heal, clear cords, curses, bindings, things like that. Reactivate your gifts and abilities so you can use them today. And just like fact find and get into your past lives in the Akashic records. So, and then I have like soul alchemy sessions where, and I stopped offering 1,000 sessions because I'm like, what the fuck is the point? I do past life work. There's clearing, there's healing, and intuitive insights, connecting to spirit. You can use it as like one-to-one mentoring. Just, there's not like the unless like when I do one-to-one mentoring, you get daily access to me. Like soul alchemy sessions is just like a session, but that's my main session now. So healing, clearing, past life, this life, all of the, if you have questions, business, whatever it is, then that soul alchemy session, and then Akashic Mastery. And then I have another program, Accelerated Intuitive. So you have to take Akashic Mastery first, and then you can go into that. So it's really hitting that multidimensional, like that expansion space, like I was talking about. If you're really ready to like really enhance your gifts and abilities, that is Accelerated Intuitive comes after Akashic Masteries, because we do use a lot of Akashic fact finding in Accelerated Intuitive. So, and I do have a membership as well. So if for like intuitive connection, but helping spiritual business people start their spiritual business, because marketing and design is something I've done for 24 years. So technology, that stuff is super easy for me. And what I found is a lot of spiritual people aren't starting a business because they don't think they need a big fancy website or all that stuff. So the membership helps people understand technology and put their stuff out into the world. And then there's spiritual stuff they ask along the way as well. So we meet, like, we have 2 calls a month, but they're usually like 2 hours at a time, so they can ask whatever questions they have. So that's what I got going on. But Vintage Moons is my website, so vintagemoons.com, and then it's Erin Vintage Moons pretty much everywhere: Facebook and Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok.
How's the podcast going? You have the Spiritual Badass podcast. How's that going?
I got some in the hopper, man. In fucking, when you do it all by yourself, the editing,
She knows.
I'm at a little standstill. I have quite a few episodes to edit. So I love doing the podcast. I love coming on podcasts. I love meeting people, what they do, how they, you know what I mean? But fuck, like I had my 4th knee surgery in July. And since then, Spirit was like, because I did a whole bunch of fucking interviews before that. And I'm like, oh, I'll have time while Spirit was like, no, like I had no fucking energy. So I'm like, I fucking still have a ton in the hopper. So I love doing it, but I'm also in this season of not pushing myself. I'm used to like push. But then I start resenting things. So the Spirit's like, just fucking wait until you feel, which I feel kind of bad for the people that have, come on. But in the same respect, I'm kind of like, ooh, I got to honor myself a little bit and stop putting other people before me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I love being able to have people on and to be on people's podcasts, because it's like I love connecting with people. What are they doing? What is their story? Why do they do what they do? That's like my favorite thing about going on and having people on mine. Like nobody can do your healing journey for you, and that's the coolest thing. Like everybody that comes on the podcast is come back from something. There's very few people that haven't had some hiccups in the road. There's like one person, I think I can remember, one out of like 50 plus interviews, where she's like, I really didn't have much trauma, or like, she's like, I had a pretty decent life. So like one person, you know what I mean? So everybody on the podcast has created their life from something or some, snowball of events in their life. So it's really cool, to be able to like connect with people and just see what their mission is and how they're helping people and how they overcame and, how they're using their spiritual work. So
I think that's super important for everybody to remember, though, is that our own energy needs to be the priority. Our self-care and energy and listening to ourselves. If we're overwhelmed, if we are, whatever you want to name it or call it, we got to put ourselves first. And as much as we're like, what? That's selfish. It's like, nah, because if we don't start taking care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the things, all the alleys, you're not going to have anything to give to others anyways. They're going to get partial parts of you. They're going to get exasperated, angry, overworked and drained versions of you. So where possible, it's always super important to listen to yourself and try and take care of yourself. So with that said, you have a lot of content on your podcast. And so I invite all of our listeners, you've heard her personality. She is amazing. Erin is amazing, a wealth of knowledge.
I'm for you or not.
You're a wealth of knowledge. So go to her podcast, catch up on episodes. She's got plenty of content for you to binge if you want to binge. She's the Spiritual Badass podcast. You can find her on Apple, iHeart, Amazon, Google, Spotify. I'm going to run out of breath, but all the places. So we love you, Erin. I love that you were able to come on with us today. And I hope we can get you on sooner than a year, because I think it's probably been about a year.
At least maybe a year and a half.
Whenever. Totally cool. We can just do it every few months because it's fucking awesome.
All right, John.
Okay. Thank you, Erin, for coming on. Always a blast. As you can tell, we don't ever want to end it. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing moments and amazing guests like Erin.
Until next time. Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more.